he alive?
Isaac Clarke. I'm going to show you some images and I want you to tell me about them.
Dead Space 2 is a rare case in that making a beloved product more action-orientated actually worked out for the developer. After the success of the first game, we had to wait 3 years till 2011 to get part 2 of the saga. It is yet a new example that enough time in the open is what a sequel needs to truly be an evolution of the game that came before. Isaac managed to survive the Ishimura incident, but really can't catch a break. Poor guy, both the government and the fanatic Unitology religion want to use his knowledge of the marker for their evil purposes. To that extent, they bring Isaac to his Brawl space station and expose him to constant psychological torture under the influence of mind-altering drugs. Isaac's life really doesn't get any easier.
Like this. I really wanted to see you again. Just once. I loved you.
From second one, DS2 shows you that it doesn't go easy on action, violence and set pieces. In the first game, you experience the aftermath of a necromorph attack. This game changes things up in that you're there in the outbreak stage of the undead virus. So you see a lot of people fleeing, getting attacked, or turning into flesh-eating monsters.
Confused right now. I can explain everything, but you gotta trust me, okay? Listen, you're in terrible danger.
At this point, the developers know that 1 or 2 necromorphs aren't gonna throw you off your game, so the first sequence tries to make you panic, making you unable to defend yourself. Your only option is to flee through the halls that are getting swamped with necromorphs popping out left and right. It's a really nice introduction, keeping experienced players on their toes, while teaching new players the roots of fighting undead. Of course, it doesn't take long for you to get your trusty plasma cutter after a nice fellow passes you his flashlight.
Isaac, we're all gonna burn for what we did to you.
And you learn to use your telekinesis to dispatch of enemies. All that is left is to get your suit and your time-slowing kinetic powers, and you're back to being the undead slayer of part 1. If I had to describe Dead Space 2 in one word, it would be improvement. The game looks better, runs better, and sounds better. The controls are faster and snappier. This makes movement and aiming feel so much smoother and precise. You really have to play both games to feel the difference, but it's awesome. They even gave Isaac a voice, making him more of a character, and I have to say, they managed to make him a pretty likable guy.
It's a really bad idea.
Well, stick around. I'm full of bad ideas.
Isaac's first hope to get off the monster-infested space station is a woman, claiming to be the sister of the dude at the start of the game.
Listen, you're in terrible danger.
Yeah.
Dana! Okay, you're right. I do need your help. Talk to me.
Look, Isaac, we don't have to be friends. But like it or not, we're stuck together. Tideman's your enemy, not me. Alright, I found you a new route.
Fine. So where the hell am I? How did another necromorph outbreak get started?
You're on Titan Station orbiting Saturn. As for the outlook... Shit! Tideman's jamming my signal.
Anyway, through radio she gives you a route going forward. Oh, of course, you get to know a few more people. First, there's your fellow inmate and outbreak survivor Nayland Stross. The treatment in the confinement made him rather twitchy though. Nonetheless, he has an important role to play in your journey going forward. The other important person is Hans Tideman, leader of the Titan Station and representative of the Earth government. He would like you to be very much there. In your journey through the dying space station, you go from area to area, each one different from the last. Now, I don't think that space was monotone in its area design, with different parts of the ship, like the medical wing or the botanic area, but as a matter of fact everything felt rather dead. I don't mean the hordes of necromorphs with that, but rather the empty feeling the Ishimura gives with a long dead crew and long cold corridors. In part 2, you as a, let's call you, patient, start in the medical wing, but soon find your way through the residential area. Everything is full of little things making the world feel lived in, like receptions, balloons and get well cards in the hospital, or abandoned apartments. Sometimes you even can see people flee, or at least try to.
Go, now!
Sometimes the apartments aren't so abandoned either. From necromorphs puking on you, having their fetuses as claw-like tongues, to semi-impact-like hunting undead giving signals to each other, to tons of gremlin-like toddlers, to exploding babies. Grotesque, unique and disturbing, each and every one, but still fun and diverse to fight. Of course, every new necromorph has their own new death move. No, stop, we're not doing that again. One interesting tidbit, however, is that in this game, when a necromorph grabs you and Isaac breaks free, he actually does more than just push them off. The developers asked the fans to design animations for the engine here to get even with the undead, and for a change pull some limbs from them. You even could get your face in the game for a good idea. The necromorphs aren't the only thing with new tricks. Isaac's arsenal is upgraded with new tools of dismemberment, and fan favorites like the Ripper got a nice power boost to cut limbs like butter. Overall, the weapons are another part of how much fun the gameplay is. A new game means new enemies to fight, and I'm sure the developers over at Visceral had a great time looking at car crash bodies or their infants coming up with new designs. One thing I really like is that every suit upgrade has a completely new design instead of adding more metal to the basic one like in the first game. After a ride in the station internal subway, or more, during it, you see another thing part 2 adds to the experience: set pieces. These make for some tense and cool moments and are spread enough through the game so they don't feel like a Call of Duty campaign. As Isaac's life dictates, things go from bad to worse in a matter of minutes, and you find yourself in a Unitologist church, pretty much the last place you want to be. Of course you find out that your friend Diana is a devout follower of said religion and wants Isaac's brain for herself, but things don't turn out so well for the old girl.
Of course you are. Why did I trust you?
Well, you didn't have a choice, Isaac. I told you there was a cure and you came running.
Why are you doing this? Why can't everyone just leave me alone, huh?
You're a dangerous secret, Isaac. EarthGov won't leave you alone because they're afraid you'll destroy their marker. After all, you did build it.
Another day, another crash. And you soon get to meet the only likable character in the universe, besides the protagonist, Ellie Langford.
Hey! No. You stay back. You want to talk? You talk from there.
Don't say you're gonna help. The last person who said that tried to kill me.
Hey, take it easy. I'm not gonna hurt you.
Yeah, you got that right.
I'm actually surprised how Whiskerl made such a good character. Her design is solid, she has a lot of attitude for being introduced rather late in the game, and she generally helps you out a couple of times. Given the track record of other companions in Dead Space 1, I was legit scared that she dies a gruesome and horrific death as per usual. Maybe I am exaggerating because she's the only pleasant person in the world out to kill you, but that only makes this seem even nicer. Now this might be considered a spoiler, but I don't see myself making a video on Dead Space 3 anytime soon, so whatever. Why does every man and woman in gaming and in extended movies end up in a relationship? It would have been totally enough for Ellie and Isaac to be best friends. That's the vibe they have in Dead Space 2 anyway. Otherwise it kinda seems like she's just a replacement Nicole, and Ellie's character wouldn't put up with that for 2 weeks. All that it is for that stupid love triangle in Part 3 with the worst character in Dead Space. Also screw them for having her redesigned in 3. Just keep her as the co-pilot buddy for Isaac. Hell, make her player 2 if you need to have multiplayer. Sheva didn't need to get together with Chris and Resident Evil 5 for crying out loud.
Hello, Isaac.
Well, this brings up bad memories.
I barely managed to escape the CEC facility this morning.
Wait, you're CEC?
Heavy equipment pilot, class 4. You?
Engineer.
Nerd. Figures.
Sorry for going off the rails, but I just had to go off on a rant on this. Get it off my chest, you know. Anyway, she gets thrust duty and you three make your way through the station. Of course, separated from each other. It's time for even more locations, starting with the preschool.
Okay everyone, 15 minutes for recess. Play nice.
It's really unnerving seeing all these dead children. Kinda a staple of Whiskerl games by now. Also, the sun is the worst scare in the game. Not even lying. You going through the operating machines in the belly of the ship is another example of upgrading a scene from the first part. It's more tense, controls better, sounds more imposing, and is visually more stunning.
Remind me to thank her for providing me with your location. I've locked the processing cycle on, and you in with it. It ends here, Clark.
It doesn't have to be this way, Tideman.
It does, and it is. Goodbye, Clark.
And then, we're finally at the best part of Dead Space 2. And funny enough, it's the first game. To finally get to the government sector, to destroy the new marker they used Isaac and Stross to build, you have to take a little detour through a certain ship.
Oh my god. It can't be. That's the Ishimura.
Yeah. Used to be the pride of the CEC. It's a sad story, actually. I heard everybody on board died. Some sort of terrorist attack.
What? Terrorist attack? What happened aboard that ship was no terrorist attack.
What do you mean?
That's where all this started, Ellie. Everything that's happening here happened on that ship. I saw it. I was on board when it happened.
Ellie, I'm in. There should still be a computer in the flight lounge. I can check the ship's status from there.
Are you okay? You sound a little nervous.
Last time I was here, things didn't go so well.
For several reasons, this is one of the best throwbacks in gaming. Cleaning crews tried to clean up the mess on board the Ishimura, so these white covers try to hide the damage, and most of the body fluids have been taken care of. Still, from the first moment you recognize each area and ready yourself to be attacked. But that is the beauty of it. The game takes its time, playing with you and your expectations. Using the gravity beam of the Ishimura, you manage to get Ellie and Stross to the government sector. And make a rather dynamic entrance yourself.
Oh shit.
Before I move on with the last few sequences of this adventure, I want to talk about my biggest gripe with the game. Remember at the start of this video, when I talked about Isaac being in a psychiatry and having problems coping with the death of Nicole and the terrible things he saw in part 1? Through almost the entirety of Dead Space 2, he is haunted by post-traumatic hallucinations in form of voices, sounds and visions.
Contact with this marker. It made you see things, didn't it? Things you didn't want to see.
It spoke to me.
What did it say, Isaac? What did it say to you, Isaac? Isaac, can you hear me?
These often depict gruesome imagery and most of the time the ghost version of Nicole from the Dead Space 1 jump scare. Now in theory I think it could have been really interesting depicting Isaac's descent into madness.
Still in denial? Afraid you're gonna cut your wrists if you listen to me?
I'm not listening to this. You may fool Stross, but I know you're not real.
Oh, you claim I'm not real, and yet here I am?
You were just a hallucination. Stross knows how to destroy you. He knows how to destroy the marker. We will destroy you.
How convenient. Destroy the marker and all the hurt and pain go away. Imagine that, Isaac. You'll never have to listen to your heart.
Games like Alan Wake or the superb Eternal Darkness, with its insanity effects, are much more effective, making the player question what is real and what is a trick by the game.
What's your Deerfest plan like? My plan? That sounds a lot more organized than I ever seem to manage.
Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, to die, to sleep no more, and by a sleep to say we end.
Isn't really happening!
In Dead Space, these experiences are just hallucinations, at the most resulting in button mashing to prevent Clark's suicide at different times. If they actually found a dynamic use of Isaac's mental health, it could have led to a completely different gameplay experience. It would be different on each playthrough from different players or on a New Game Plus run. At this state, I'd say it's a missed opportunity that maybe gets you once or twice with a jump scare. For the most part, doesn't feel fleshed out though. This is also the part where the difficulty of the game picks up. While making your way through an abandoned mining site, the number of necromorphs you have to fight drastically increases, and by now most of them are the Black Blood variants, making them more aggressive and resistant. Being this close to the marker doesn't have a good influence on Strauss.
It's gonna be okay. I promise. This won't hurt a bit. I'll try hard and hope to die.
Strauss!
Stick a needle in your eye.
Strauss, God damn it!
But if he does anything stupid, anything, I will shoot him.
He gets rather stabby with Ellie.
There you are, Isaac. We've been waiting for you.
Now it's your turn. Oh God. Ellie, step free. Ellie.
You owe me an eye, you bastard!
Trying the same with Isaac doesn't work out too well for him though.
There you are. Oh, Strauss, what are you doing? You have to face her for me. Tell her I didn't mean to do it. Strauss, it's me!
See her!
It's Isaac! Tell her! Strauss! Step free! Step free! Oh God. Why did you do it, Strauss?
Isaac then has a rather brief moment where he just skipped years of psychological help for his mental health problem by accepting his loss, I guess. No wonder things don't work out for that guy in DS3.
One shred, one light, one bright shining star you cluster in this universe. Not everybody you killed. Forcing the life out of you because you can't get over the fact that I'm dead. And you're responsible. Why do you keep fighting me? Why can't you let go?
Because you are my everything. And if I let you go, I've got nothing left.
Step 4. Acceptance.
You meet up with Pirate Ellie and sail through the solid rock wall using some heavy guns. Finally, at the government sector, you realize that your waypoint system is down and you have to find your way alone for like 4 minutes because that is all they trust you with. After a one-sided goodbye to Ellie at the shuttle bay, you get a nice bittersweet scene. And now, the final is waiting for you.
Isaac, what are you doing?
Closing hatch.
Oh. Hey, Isaac, what are you doing?
Gunship command order confirmed.
Isaac, what are you doing? Open the door right now!
Emergency launch cycle initiated.
No!
Airlock C.
No! No, don't you dare! Don't you dare launch the ship! Isaac!
It's your best chance, Ellie. You got life support, comms. Hey, you gotta be rescued.
You bastard.
I need you to be rescued. I couldn't save Nicole, but I can save you, Ellie. So, bye.
Well, there are still quite a few necromorphs between you and your goal. To get past Tideman's man, you have to cut off the power system. This however enables the necromorph to swarm the sector. Oh, and if you're still waiting for your nemesis, wait no longer.
You compromised the compound, you idiot!
Shoot your way through with everything you have, and finally understand what Stross talked about all the time. The scariest machine that really makes no sense if you don't count the terrible death scene, that is. Here I made a drawing. It makes no sense how it distorts your whole face. Why would it be built like this? As soon as you finish the process, a familiar cat and mouse game begins. Effectively a throwback to the hunter, the Übermorph stalks you on your way to the huge glowing marker. This of course is to weaken you for the final fight, and yes, there were a lot of enemies on your feet. After you manage to escape your shadow, you dispose of Tideman. And turn your attention to the end boss. Pretty unsurprisingly, the Mind Recall is another illusion by the marker and attacks you. In the fight, you have to avoid being whole with Nicole, shoot shadow children, and empty a magazine. It really isn't that hard, to be honest. With the destruction of the man-made obelisk, the space station begins to fall apart, and Isaac finally raises himself for some much needed peace. But one person has another idea.
You complete bastard! Was this your great plan? Dump me off and die?
It's a really nice scene. That easily could have been the end of Isaac's story. But the way it ends is a bit more positive than that.